Even though cinema in 2024 was a little bit below average in my opinion, there were some movies released this year that are up there with my favorites of all time. So this is my personal top 10 movies of 2024. Coming in at number 10, we have Deadpool and Wolverine. A listless Wade Wilson toils away in civilian life with his days as the morally flexible mercenary Deadpool behind him. But when his homeworld faces an existential threat, Wade must reluctantly suit up again with an even more reluctant Wolverine. Look, I won't sit here and say that this is an absolute masterpiece, but I will admit, I'm a sucker for Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, and somehow this movie manages the impossible feat of not tarnishing his legacy after Logan. That scene with Wolverine and Deadpool in the car where they have the huge argument is up there with my favorites for the year and favorites in the whole MCU. Having Blade in here was awesome too, and that joke just keeps getting better and better.
There's only been one Blade. There's only ever gonna be one Blade.
Yes, there is a lot here that I don't like as well. The idea of anchor beings is one of the worst ideas ever conceived. I wish Wolverine here did something worse or had more of a tragic backstory to actually make him the worst Wolverine variant, and I wish we got to see some actual scenes of that. And yeah, the ending, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. It feels a bit messy. And it ties up a bunch of loose ends a little too easily, a little too conveniently for my taste. At number 9, we have A Different Man. Aspiring actor Edward undergoes a radical medical procedure to drastically transform his appearance, but his new dream face quickly turns into a nightmare as he loses out on the role he was born to play and becomes obsessed with reclaiming what was lost. If it's not Timothee Chalamet's year, 2024 was the year of Sebastian Stan for me. Or Cailee Spaeny. Look, there were some amazing breakout acting performances this year. But here, Sebastian Stan, he is just a joy to watch on screen, along with Adam Pearson in a breakout role and Renate Reinsve, please forgive me guys, I'm probably pronouncing that terribly, but you might know her as the worst person in the world. I love how this movie explores the idea of how when we feel wronged by the world, we might have every right to hold on to that hurt and let it fester, and even become resentful of others who might be handling similar difficult circumstances in a better way than we are. The question is, will you allow that to consume you? Or will you be able to let go of that pain and find a better life? It gets pretty deep, this movie, when you think about it, but even just at the surface level, this is just enjoyable and quirky comedy/drama. At number 8, we have Alien Romulus. While scavenging the deep ends of a derelict space station, a group of young space colonizers come face to face with the most terrifying life form in the universe. Look, normally guys, even though I do think that they're brilliant movies, I really struggle to sit through any of the Alien films just because of how brutal that they are. But this is brutal, but it's also a lot of fun to watch as well. Cailee Spaeny has had a breakout year, and David Johnson is just so likable as Andy the android, and who could forget the real-life former college basketball player Robert Bobrovsky, I think that's how you say his name, starring as the Offspring. It doesn't have too much to say in terms of philosophy or deeper meaning, but this is just a really well-made sci-fi horror/thriller. It has everything you could want in that kind of movie. The Ian Holm deepfake look, it wasn't great, but otherwise, this is a crowd pleaser that should please any fan of the Alien franchise. At number 7, we have Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Several generations following Caesar's reign, Apes, now the dominant species, live harmoniously while humans have been reduced to living in the shadows. As a new tyrannical ape leader builds his empire, one young ape undertakes a harrowing journey that will cause him to question all he's known about the past and to make choices that will define a future for apes and humans alike. I went into this with pretty much zero expectation. At that time, guys, I hadn't even seen the recent really popular Planet of the Apes trilogy, and man, this film, it just works so well as a sequel to those three films, but also as an introduction for someone like me at the time that hadn't seen them at all. The CGI here, in my view, is genuinely unbelievable. Some of the fur here just looks crazy real. The impacts and the bodies actually feel like they have weight. And yeah, the pacing is perhaps a little slow, but overall the story is a very satisfying and interesting one. The apocalyptic world building is just so fun to sit in and enjoy. And I love how all of it feels like remnants of Australia, given that a lot of the filming was actually completed here. Australia represent, lads. Let's go. For number 6, we have Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. As the world falls, young Furiosa is snatched from the green place of many mothers into the hands of a great biker horde led by the warlord Nemesis. Furiosa must survive many trials as she puts together the means to find her way home. I'd love to have another film here representing Australia, but it is such a shame that it didn't really do well at the box office because George Miller is such a legendary director, and I really don't want this to be the last time that we get to journey into the Mad Max wasteland on the silver screen. A lot of people complain about this because it's a Mad Max movie without Mad Max himself, but Anya Taylor-Joy and Chris Hemsworth especially bring their own charisma to their respective roles, and the extra world building of the whole Mad Max wasteland is just brilliant here. Yes, maybe the ending doesn't quite land, but this is a fun ride with some great action. Also, shout out to Tom Burke, he puts in a great, underrated performance of the year here. For number 5, we have Checkmates. Candela, the headmistress of an elite school after a traumatic divorce, returns to her old high school to lead a group of rebellious students through chess. Look guys, surface level, you might look at this film and go, this is just going to be a comedy, it's not going to be something worth remembering. But boy, oh boy, did this movie win me over by the end. If you're frustrated with the state of Hollywood filmmaking, turn to international cinema like this. Comedy that's actually funny, a great cast of likable characters, and at its core, a really heartfelt story about community, family, and growing together in friendship. Also, how freaking good is chess, lads? Let's go. For number 4, we have The Apprentice. A young Donald Trump, eager to make his name as a hungry scion of a wealthy family in 1970s New York, comes under the spell of Roy Cohn, the cutthroat attorney who would help create the Donald Trump we know today. Once again, guys, this is the year of Sebastian Stan. What did I tell ya? This is a brilliant and scary exploration of Donald Trump's rise to power, but more importantly, a look at why he is who he is today. The movie works so well as a metaphor for America, how it's all about gaining wealth at all costs, ultra-capitalism, bullying other countries or other people, and throwing your morals away, all in the pursuit of success. I love how it explores how big of an impact one's family and upbringing can truly have on a person. And there's also a really unexpected but nuanced and thought-provoking representation of the AIDS crisis here too. Overall, an unbelievably brilliant performance by Sebastian Stan. This movie really asks the question, what do we have left when we're prepared to sell everything, including our souls, for power? Before we go into the top 3, I want to give some quick shout outs to a few films that were pretty unlucky to miss out on my top 10 this year. The Substance, Joker Folie à Deux. Yes, you did hear me right. Make sure you check out my video review on that one to hear why I actually like Joker Folie à Deux. Monkey Man and Memoir of a Snail. Now, please keep in mind that as of writing this video, I hadn't actually seen Nosferatu or A Complete Unknown because for some reason, Australians have to wait way longer than anyone else to see those films, so I do really think that both of those movies would probably slot into my top 10 here and knock out a few of these. Coming in at number 3, we have Nemesis. This is a documentary series taking you inside the recent coalition government in a revealing tale of politics, ambition, and power. Look, I'll be honest guys, this is probably only going to appeal to you if you're really big into your Australian politics, but if you are, this is one of the greatest documentaries ever made. The way that this mini-series really shows the character of each of the 3 prime ministers is masterful. The narration is purely through those being interviewed, but works perfectly in presenting an engaging story, which is a difficult feat to pull off in a documentary like this. The archival footage perfectly complements this, and overall, this is a brilliant recording of Australian political history all the way from 2013 to 2022. And yes guys, I am counting this as a movie because you can log it on Letterboxd. Coming in at number 2, we have Civil War. In the near future, a group of war journalists attempt to survive while reporting the truth as the United States stands on the brink of civil war. Alex Garland, you thought he was washed up after Men? Well, think again, because this movie is an absolute banger. I'm so sick of people complaining about how this movie doesn't go into enough details about the conflict, why the Civil War started, people also hating on California and Texas joining forces, yada yada yada. You're completely missing the point of the film if you're thinking like this. This movie is about journalism in war, the ethics behind that, and conflict as a whole. It's not meant to be a detailed depiction of an actual civil war in modern America and what that might look like. It makes a deliberate attempt not to be politicized, and I think it's all the better film for doing so and actually deserves credit for that. It's a shame that that whole debate distracted from the important discussion that this movie presents. We live in a world where journalists are being deliberately targeted and killed by military forces just for doing their job and sharing their experiences to the world, and this movie offers an important moment to reflect and think about that. Also, Jesse Plemons, chef's kiss, as just any character, guys. Literally cast him as anyone, please. And that credit song is one of my favorite needle drops ever. The whole cast are standouts here. The use of film photography is inspiring to me and captures everything I love about the art of photography. And man, it has been a long time since I've sat in a cinema and felt that level of tension. I was on the edge of my seat the entire time. And coming in at number 1, the best film of 2024, we have Dune Part 2. Follow the mythic journey of Paul Atreides as he unites with Chani and the Fremen while on a path of revenge against the conspirators who destroyed his family. Facing a choice between the love of his life and the fate of the known universe, Paul endeavors to prevent a terrible future only he can foresee. Do I really need to talk about this movie at all, guys? Because you know how perfect it is. This is just pure cinema, and I would go so far as to say it's the Star Wars trilogy of our generation. It is so good. Everything about this is just so perfect. Timothee Chalamet, take a bow please. I love how this movie shows his reluctant journey into becoming everything that he didn't want to be, and how it makes you think about free will and faith. And also on top of that, the range of Timothée Chalamet, how we've even, just within this movie, seen his character transformation. It is just done so well, and he deserves so much credit for that. Every aspect of the production here is brilliant, whether it's the cinematography, the soundtrack, the sound design, the cast, the script. Some of the most epic moments that I've ever seen on screen. That final duel in the sunset is genuinely one of the best things that I've ever seen, and at the end of the day, it's a broken romance story between Paul and Chani, and that's beautiful, guys. That's beautiful. Cinema just brings a tear to your eye.
I also want to give a shout out to my girlfriend who got me both Dune and Dune Part 2 on Blu-ray for Christmas. I'm so pumped to watch these again.
So guys, that was my top 10 movies of 2024. Let me know down in the comments if you think I've missed out on any movies, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Long live cinema.